Hey guys, welcome to episode 128 of Rookie Hunter. Today on the show, Kelly and Garrett are catching up over Zoom to talk about Whitetail season, and Garrett's been out with the dogs. Lots of good stuff for you guys in this one. We do have one more episode for you guys, and that's coming out on the 23rd, just before old Chris Kringle rolls into town. So let's just jump right into this one. Sit back, relax, crack an ice cold beer, and enjoy episode 128 with Garrett and Kelly.
Green jacket, gold jacket, gives a shit. Ready?
Is it good?
Yep.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. Garrett Mark on.
Kelly, how's it going?
Not bad, man. Keeping busy as usual. We had a little bit of snow. I didn't get out for whitetail quick enough, and it got a little crunchy. But, I did manage to get out a couple times. How about you?
Yeah, I actually got out a couple times too. Yeah, it was good. It's good. But I'm itching to hear about your whitetail hunting.
Yeah, we can jump right into it. I went for a couple whitetail hunts, 2 different styles. I was a guest on Dylan's Eat Wild podcast a little while ago. So afterwards, I was chatting to him a little bit about, tactics and all this kind of stuff. Because, Mike and I and yourself, I wouldn't call us whitetail hunters. It's one of those animals that is, plentiful up here in BC, but it's generally the ambush style hunting that we haven't really got into yet. So Dylan was telling me about this method of hunting. Well, it's still hunting, but kind of still hunting, but on a incline, like side hilling. So you're kind of like, taking a few steps, you're stopping, lift your binos up, take a look through the trees, take a few steps, stop, take your binos up, look through the trees. And I thought that was kind of cool, like on an incline like that, because you're kind of looking like sideways and down. Oh, okay. So you can see quite a ways. Like the trees were pretty sparsed out. I was seeing a lot of sign. Temperatures were, it was winter. It's like 0 degrees Celsius, and tons of sign. I didn't see any deer though, not that first time, but I did enjoy the style of hunting. So, thanks to Dylan for kind of giving me some ideas there. The second time I went out, that was kind of going back to, the typical ambush style hunting. And I even went so far as to leave my hiking boots at home, and I put my Sorels on. Oh, yeah. So I hopped out of the truck. I went to my spot that I had scoped out, and I sat down. I didn't bring too much gear out there, but I did bring some warm clothes. My focus there was just to stay as warm as I could and bundle up, because that was the key to success, right? Longer you sit there, better chance of success.
Yeah, definitely, and especially when it's that cold.
Yeah, exactly. So it was pretty chilly that day. Saw 2 does, and then I didn't see much after that. So I'm sitting there waiting, just forcing myself to sit there, right? But it's so hard, man. It's so hard to just sit there. And guess what happened?
Oh, I can probably only imagine. Yeah. Let's hear it.
I got up, and then I started walking in my Sorels, and I basically did like a mule deer hunt in my Sorels. Immediately regretted not bringing my hiking boots, but I kind of did this big loop. I ended up seeing 5 does throughout the day. One of them at like 15 yards that I spooked in the bush. And she was frozen. Like I could barely see her. It was so thick. I just had my binos up. She was frozen there for about 30 seconds, and then she took off and went up the ridge. So I ran up the opposite ridge, and I was just watching her, and she settled down, and she just started eating bushes and stuff. And I do a little rattle once in a while, just to, maybe there's a buck hanging around.
Oh yeah.
It didn't work. It didn't really work, but we were both kind of sitting there aware of each other for like 2 hours.
Was she still feeding, or was she looking at you, or was it like kind of like
she
a
was still
stare
feeding.
off?
No, she was still feeding. Her tail was, relaxed and a flick every once in a while. She was kind of pawing like through the snow freeing up some browse and stuff like that. And she'd chomp on it for a while, and then she'd look up and I'd make a noise, and, she'd look at me, and it was all good. So I just figured, maybe there's a buck around, and if I rattle once in a while, he might pop over the ridge and try to run her off or to do whatever. But it didn't work out, and then I trudged my way back to the truck at the end of the day and shook my head at why I didn't bring my hiking boots. But
at least
that's what happens, man.
At least you're seeing animals. Like when you know what it's like when you get out there and you got this perfect spot in mind and you don't see a single thing, right? Like you don't even see any sign. It's like what's going on here?
Yeah, I felt pretty good about seeing animals, and there's just something different about whitetails, I find. Like when you see them, their coat, like especially this time of year, like their coats are just so, like they get some thick winter coats and they've got that silvery color.
Yeah.
They just look a little, it's like, I don't know if finesse is the word, but they have a lot more finesse than a mule deer. You know what I mean? They'd be nice to stumble across a big buck, but they're a tough animal to hunt.
Yeah, especially I'm not sure what it's like over there for you, but I know like shooting a big whitetail buck around my hometown is like, it's rare.
Yeah.
There may be like the odd guy that will get like a big bodied whitetail with big heavy antlers. Like it just doesn't, I just don't think it happens that much anymore. Or if it does, I'm not hearing about it. But. So the spot you're going into, like, sorry, I just want to back up there. Like, are you going down a logging road, or what? Or do you have a spot like you're hiking into, just like where you park, and then is like are you hiking into a clear cut, or is it just?
Yeah. So the first hunt, actually both hunts were up Forest Service roads. The first hunt, parked the truck on the side of the road. It was actually in a big ravine. So there's a creek, and I kind of parked my truck just over the bridge. And you could tell that, like, that creek and where the ravine was and kind of how the mountain kind of pointed everything to that bridge, you could tell that there was tracks going, right past there. So then the decision was like, do you hike down or do you hike up? So I decided to hike up. From there, I had never been there. So I just kind of wung it. And I ended up hiking, up the creek bed for a while. And then I side-hilled up the side of the ravine. It was kind of like a canyon. And I eventually made it up to the top, and it kind of, plateaued off a bit, but it's still that whole side of the mountain was just kind of like, concave right into that ravine like that. It's just a big draw basically.
Oh, okay.
So I got up a bit away from the creek bed, and the snow was so crunchy that, it was difficult. I wanted to explore the area, but at the same time, there's only so much you can do when it's that crunchy, and the deer are probably sitting still too.
Oh, definitely.
So,
yeah.
We're kind of in this like sitting still standoff. I don't know if I'm in the best spot because I haven't invested a lot of time there. So I figured, you know what, I'm just going to walk around, see what's here, see what kind of tracks I can find. And then, where I can, just make sure I slow it down. And if I do spook something out, sometimes they don't run off right away. If they feel like they're in cover and they see that you're in cover, you might get a chance, like that doe that I saw 15 yards, right? So, if they freeze on you and figure, he can't see me, I'm just going to see what happens here before I make any, whitetail are so smart. Sometimes they're so smart that they don't move at all because they know you can't see them. So,
I think,
I was kind of hoping something like that would happen.
Definitely. I feel like the times that I've tried to go after them, I always run into that scenario like what you're describing right there. It's like, I go into an area because I'm horrible at sitting. Like I just get way too antsy and I want to, you know what I mean? I get curious. Yep. And then like you said, like I'll get up and walk, and then I usually spook a few, and then like I'll be like, oh damn. And then I'll stop. Or like sometimes like you'll get that, you know what I mean? Like that sound they make, kind of like they're clearing their nostrils or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then like sometimes,
like territorial.
territorial, and then they'll do like kind of like a half loop, like to come back around to kind of see what you are. Like that's happened to me before too, and like it doesn't always happen, but it's always like, okay, in my head I'm like, oh, how am I going to play this out? Because like you said, like it's always seems like you see the does first, and then you're like, oh, there's probably a buck in here because it's that time of year. They might be in the rut, so just kind of play it cool. And I feel like I always get into like this standoff.
Yeah,
but it's never been like most of the times where I'm like sitting and waiting. Like I don't think I've found a spot that I've put enough time into where I know like they come in at a certain time and it's that time of the year, you know, where they're gonna migrate through there. Like I don't have one of those spots, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess like
to me that was my second spot. So I kind of knew there were deer there, and I kind of knew because I'd been in there once with my dog, and I had that exact same experience where you stumble across a bedding area, and then you hear, you know, whether it's does or bucks, they're kind of snorting at you in the bushes because they're getting territorial. And it scared the crap out of my dog. So that's why I went to this second spot, which was, you know, that was why I was planning to do the ambush, because I had a little more confidence that the spot could lend itself to that and I would go completely crazy. And, you know, I did end up seeing a lot of sign there. I saw a few bucks. So I think it was a couple good efforts. But I think you nailed it, man. Like with whitetail, it comes down to time and investment and research. And, you know, when we're out looking for elk and planning our sheep hunt and hunting mule deer in between, you know, the guys that are shooting bigger whitetail are, you know, researching those whitetail spots well before they're going in there. And you know, that's something that I'm kind of hunting whitetail at the end of the season because I've kind of run out of options. So it's a difficult approach, I guess, to, you know, have high expectations for whitetail bucks when you're kind of doing it that way.
So the spot then you've been there before, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like every time you go in there, you know, just a little bit more every time you go in.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Potentially you're setting yourself up. Every time you go in there, you learn something different, which could possibly set you up for success.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, that could be an angle to look at it too, right? Like every time you go in there, you see animals, so it must be a good spot.
Yep, exactly. And the other thing too is, you know, if you're only going to go in a couple times, that's not a lot of time in the world of hunting, you know, like, you know, you might have to go in 14 times and, you know, it's a matter of time. You'll get something, but you got to put the time in too. So
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, man, I mean, I had fun. I was out there solo hunting both occasions. Both occasions, the weather was really good. I had clear skies. I had some sunshine in the afternoons. So yeah, it was, you know, I didn't see anything too out of the ordinary, other than the bunch of white-tailed does that I saw the second time. But yeah, had some fun. The second hunt also, I brought my Helinox, just a couple gear tips. Brought my Helinox chair on the whitetail hunt the second time, just because I thought I'd be sitting. And the one thing I noticed was that chair drains the heat out of you when you're sitting on it, because you're kind of suspended in the air and it compresses all your clothes. And, you know, definitely bring a little Z-rest seat and put it inside, which will help out if you're going to sit in that for a long time. And the other thing I had on me was the Sitka down hoodie, and that thing's a beast. It's not really made for whitetail hunting. I think it's more made for, like, you know, you're up on the ridge and you're glassing, because it's not the quietest piece of gear. But, you know, I guess if the whitetail spot you have lends to it, then, you know, that thing's like sitting in a sleeping bag. So
yeah, those are
definitely
nice.
Keeps the core warm.
The Helinox there. What chair do you have?
It's called the Zero. It weighs like a pound, or maybe an ounce under a pound, or something like that. I think they're about $150 if I remember correctly. And you kind of think it's luxury, but every time I've had it, everybody else has been jealous. And it starts looking like an essential once you're out there. You just got to kind of talk yourself into putting it into the bag, right?
I've been looking into those, and it looks like something I want to invest in. And especially like now that we're going, like, sorry, I don't want to go on a tangent here, but the Helinox, even the cots. Because I know the few times that we've gone, like sleeping on the thermarest with the pad, like I personally don't really sleep. I always wake up with like half my body numb, or like, you know what I mean? And I feel like myself, like when I get a full night's sleep, like I'm way better the next day getting out hunting, especially if you're in the bush for like 7-8 days. If it's long, like that first sheep hunt we went on, like I think I barely slept. You know what I mean?
What are these Helinox cots?
Well,
I don't think I've seen them.
Yeah, Helinox makes them, and then Thermarest makes them too, and then there's some other ones out there that are cheaper, but I'm sure I don't know. I haven't tried them out, but I'm just in the research stage right now, so I don't know a hell of a lot about them. But they have like kind of the same thing about like with your chair, like they have an ultralight model. So it's like, you know, if you were, to me, I'm just like I'm thinking like, you know, if it's one thing I'm going to sacrifice weight on, it's going to be my sleep. Yeah. So like even like you're saying, like you come back at the end of the day and to have one of those chairs like you have to set up in like that Cafaro teepee we got around the stove would be like luxury. Yeah.
Well, especially in that thing. Or even like, you know, I've been in situations where, you know, whether it was Mike and I or Kyle, we set up the Hilleberg, had a fire, and, you know, I'm sitting there in my Helinox eating a mountain house or whatever I have for food in the dark, and nice and comfortable, and there's a fire there, and, you know, Kyle or Mike's standing there, you know, holding their food, either sitting on the ground or they're standing up and eating it, or they're sitting on a log or something. It's just night and day. So you know, I've been in situations where it's like, I feel bad for even having this thing. Like, you want me to just huck it over the side of the bank? Or
I'm
like,
sold. You know, I'm getting one for sure. Like, and it's not another one of those things, like it's got all the accessories for it too. You can get like cup holders, and they even make like little Vibram sole thing balls you can put on the bottom so you can sink in the ground. And I think there's even like a rocking chair thing. That would really be pushing if Mike and what's his name, Kyle, were looking at you. And you had like, you were rocking back and forth.
Yeah. Just loving it.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the one thing with those chairs, we're going on a Helinox tangent. The one thing I noticed with the chairs though is like, be careful where you take them out, because if you're around animals, they kind of clang around, right? It's like, like they're like tent poles, but they're all hooked up, and they have the little elastic wire, so you kind of just like fling the frame around, and all the legs just go into their spots automatically.
Oh, okay, yeah, gotcha.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
But they're noisy, so you know, you can put them together quietly, but you got to be very careful. If I was anywhere near where I thought animals were, I'd probably, you know, just suffer. And
gotcha.
But for all the other cases, especially when you're glassing and things are far away, then
or back at camp,
that thing's like gold.
Yeah.
Or gold. Camp, it's golden.
I'm sold. I got to get one of those.
Sweet.
Definitely.
Hey, Garrett, since we talked last, you've been out a couple times with your dogs.
Yeah.
Looking for cats. So I'm interested to hear kind of what you've been up to.
So like I was pumped up there. I was waiting for snow, and then we finally got the snow, and then I finally got out on my first hunt with the dogs, which I was just pumped to get out. So I got everything ready, and I got out. And honestly, the only thing I was really hoping for is just to find one set of fresh tracks. And I mentioned before, like I got a bobcat tag, I got a lynx tag, and I got a mountain lion tag. So, and the other thing, you got to have, like, when you buy these tags, you got to have them, like, you got to hold them for 2 days, right? You can't just go buy the tag and go out hunting. So I made sure I had all that. Everything was legit there. So yeah, we got the fresh snow, and I'm pumped to get out there, just find anything. So I'm hiking. I'm not, you know, no snowmobile or truck or anything like that. So I'm hiking with the dogs. I got my 30-30, and I head up behind in the mountains. And then I come across fresh bobcat track, and I'm pumped. I'm like, all right, this is exactly what I'm looking for. This is great. So I grabbed the dogs there, I put them on the collar. This is the kind of thing, the leash. This is kind of what I would have read about. And I walked the track with the dogs to kind of get them like interested, like, hey, this is what we're going after. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's time to get serious here. They stick their head down there, and then they get really excited, right? They start barking. So I'm like, all right, they got it. Like, you know what I mean? They know, kind of have an idea what we want to do here. So I walk them out like 50 yards or so, and then I let them go. And it went pretty good. Like, I don't know. I'm not really sure. This is like kind of like the first time I've really like everything else, it seems like I've been trying to break them off of up until this point. Now I'm like, because everything else has kind of been like deer, elk, moose, coyote, like stuff like that, stuff you don't want them to be on. And then now I'm asking them, okay, this is okay now, like go after this. So I think they did all right. Like I'm not really 100% sure, but they did pretty good. Like we didn't get the bobcat up the tree, but they stayed on it for a while. So it was good. And it kind of got to a point there where like the cat was doing like some kind of figure eight thing, and it looked like it was backtracking on itself there. And we kind of ended up down in this whole tangle of trees and that. We pretty much like pounded the track out, and that's where we kind of lost it. But all in all, it was good. It was fun to chase them. The dogs did awesome. For me, that part of it went really well, but we kind of went on later on in the hunt, and then I maybe I should have stayed with the track, but I was kind of like, well, what else is out there? So I kept hiking, that's sort of this thing there where you just keep going and looking, and didn't really see much, and then things went downhill quickly, Kelly. So
that's what happens. What's beyond the next hill?
Oh yeah, we got way out there, and then the one dog just decided to give up. Like he's like, I'm done, and then he just took off. Yeah. So I'm calling him. He's only 50 yards away at the one time. I'm like calling him, like, come back, and I'm seeing him. And I give him like a little tone, like, hey, you're not listening, come back. And then all of a sudden I see like, oh, it is a 180 and he's 100 yards away. Now he's 200, 300, 400, 500, 600, and he's gone. Like, see you later. So I was like, oh, I guess that's the end of the hunt. So I found him. He ran. He was okay. At first I was like, oh, maybe something's chasing him. Maybe he's hurt or something. But when I caught up to him there, he was okay. He was just, I don't know. I don't know what happened. I think I couldn't tell you. I don't know if he got turned around or if he just got lost, or I'm not sure. But
can you communicate with the dogs, like with your device there?
Yeah, so you can set the device up, like, and that's the thing, like prior to going out, how I was training them. So like, of course, I had to try to figure all this stuff out, reading and that, and how to train them without hurting them or going overboard. So it has like it's got 3 buttons on the top. So one, you can it's like a vibrate, you can vibrate. And then the other one's like, it has an M there, it's for momentary. And then the other one's a C for continuous. So momentary would be like a momentary shock. And then the C is like a continuous shock. But you can set the levels of the shock, right? You have a low, medium, and high. So I set mine through 1 to 6, 6 being the most, aggressive, and then 1 being the least. So you got to kind of figure out where their threshold, and every dog's different, right? Some dogs are just, they'll run right through it, right? So you got to figure out where they can actually communicate to them. So that's what I did before that, is for since I got them, right? And even getting used to having those collars around their neck. Those things are bulky. Sure. And that's the other thing that what I learned too, is like they have these 2 little metal prongs on them. And I don't know, I'm probably not, but I don't know if the dogs are smart enough, but when I put them on, they kind of bunch their neck up. So I was like, oh, well, whatever. And then I'd take them out, and then I'd be trying to communicate with them through it. I'm like, well, nothing's working. And then when I'm watching them, they're ripping around, but they got their heads stretched out and they're sniffing, and the thing's not even touching their neck. So it's just kind of like spinning around their neck. You know what I mean?
So they have to be tied enough.
Yeah, I got to cinch them down. I've kind of heard that when people talk about like horses too, when you're doing the cinch up on the saddle, they'll take in a huge breath of air. And then when you get riding, like they'll let it out, and then they'll have this, you know what I mean? It'll be a bunch of slack in there. I don't think my dogs are that smart. I think they just, I don't think they're cluing in on that.
He's holding his breath.
Yeah. I don't think they're like, oh, this idiot's putting this thing on again. Hey, watch this. Yeah. No, I think it's just like, once they get going, their noses are on the ground the whole time. So it's like, oh, that's what's going on there. Okay. So I got to do this up a couple more. But when you first put it on, it's like, holy crap, I'm going to choke this thing. But one of those little things
loosened up and they start moving.
Yeah.
That's what they say about, Norris. He's not a great walking dog. Like he pulls a little bit. So we got one of those, the ones that go over their nose.
Oh yeah. I've seen those. Yeah.
It's just a lead that goes over their nose. But even with stuff like that, they say put it on tight. Like it has to be, you can get one finger under there, but that's it. Because if you have it loose, it actually, is more risk when it's loose. So, I don't know, man. I hear what you're saying though. Like some of the things that you put on animals, think people have a tendency to go too loose with them, but especially when you're talking like working animals like you have.
Yeah,
you know,
and
they're going to be putting a lot of effort into this stuff, so the gear's got to hang on.
Oh yeah, and like before, like this thing, obviously this unit, it tells you like it does a whole pile of different stuff. Like you can work it for pointers too. It'll tell you when the dog's on point, and then this one here, it'll tell you like when the dog's treat something. It actually has a thing there, like it'll even show you like a little diagram when you've treated something. It'll notify you, but it also
so it knows that the dog is like.
Up on the
has 2 paws up a tree.
Yeah. Like on the tree, it's got something. Well, whatever's up the tree, it just says treat. But it also has like how many times they're barking. You know what I mean? So when we first got these dogs, like of course they're pups, and they were like we let them sleep inside. So then I would before, like I bought like I got this thing here, and it was telling me like which dog is barking. So I didn't want them barking in the house, So I'd crack them, like, you know what I mean? I'd obviously they'd be barking through the night. I'd wake up, look at the thing. I'm like, oh, okay, Waylon's barking, and I'd give him a little. I'd crack them, and then he would be quiet, right? Well, these like they got big antennas, and they were like blowing through antennas because they'd each chew on the antenna. So I go down there and like I went through a pile of these things. You can replace them. You can find a whole bunch of them. They're not that expensive, but I'm like, man, I'm just blowing through these things like toilet paper. They're just annihilating. And then I bought one of those. The other Garmin thing there where you don't have to, it just, you put it around their neck and it's like one of those bark eliminator things. I don't know if you've seen those.
I don't think so, no.
So I switched that out.
No antennas though?
No antennas, yeah, and way better. That way I don't have to wake up and look at the thing and say, oh, you know, such and such is bark in there, and then stop them. But now they're unreal. They don't bark at all.
Yeah.
In the house.
How'd the second hunt go?
The second hunt was not as exciting as the first, but it's still good to get out. We didn't really have that much fresh snow.
Yeah.
But I got out there on the second one, and what I did was I just went back to where that bobcat was, because I was like, why would I go anywhere else? I know there's a cat here, so I'm just going to try to look for this other one. So I got up a little higher where I found his track skin where they were fresh. So I went in there and I let the dogs go on the track. And same thing, like I put the leash on them and then walked the track with them. And then like instantly they fired up. Like, they were kind of like, oh yeah, okay, I remember this. This is good. But what, like, man, one thing that when they get going like that, it's not like you're out in the middle of like where I was, like a wide open kind of parkish. Like there's trees in that. Those dogs are pulling me through crap, and I got my gun. My gun's hooking on stuff. So what I did was I put my gun down, and then I marked on my GPS, and then it's just so I could walk them a bit and then let them go, because they're dragging you through everything, Like you're getting full of snow and that. I mean, I'm pumped up too. Like I'm like, all right, here we go again. You know, it's good. Let them go back, get my gun, and then just, I mean, you know what I mean? Like the chase is on. Like I could see why guys say like the best part about it is the chase. Because it's exciting. It's like that anticipation to be like, I wonder what the hell's at the end of this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And meanwhile,
you know,
yeah,
I want to come and hang out with you guys and do that. COVID's kind of putting a kink in everybody's plans. Not
totally, yeah.
Christmas overall, but also you know, our cougar plans. But yeah, I mean, I just want to see. You know, I'm a big fan of dogs. I've always had dogs, so I like to see them working. And you know, I've never had an experience like that where, you know, they're hunting dogs. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. The other thing I was wondering is, I can't remember if we touched on this in the last one, but the gun you're using, like what are people using for this style of hunting? Do you have a lever action? Is that the 30-30?
Yeah, I got my dad bought me this 30-30, this old Marlin 30-30 off a guy there he knew, and it was like in mint condition. Like it still came in the original box, and it had like the manual in it. Like this thing is old, but he pulled it out and it was like in like it never even been shot. So I got this old Marlin. It's a bit of a tank to carry around, but I mean, whatever, it does the trick. And lever action rifles, I love them. They're awesome. But I think for mount
Marlins.
Oh yeah, I like them. Any lever action gun, Henry, Winchester.
Yeah. I want to get a Marlin 4570, like a short guide gun.
Oh, for sure, especially for like picking huckleberries or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I could hit a huckleberry with one, but
You blow the whole patch out. Yeah.
that's cool though. You get to hunt with the lever action, and I mean, I guess you can use them for like close deer hunts and stuff like that too. But you don't see a lot of people using them.
Oh, definitely, yeah. I mean, I wouldn't shoot a bobcat with it, and it might vaporize the thing, but
yeah,
like in terms of like, because a mountain lion, you can't use a rimfire cartridge. You got to use a center fire. So like, I think guys are using like a smaller calibers just so they don't, I mean, completely destroy the hide on like bobcat and that. I would assume. I'm not really
right.
I'm not quite certain. So maybe the small like a 22 250 or something like that, right?
So you're saying I shouldn't buy a 45-70 for that?
For a bobcat? No, I don't think that
for a cougar even.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe. I'm not sure. I mean, I've never shot one before, so I don't really know. I mean, everything's a first time experience for me. I'm learning.
Yeah.
I just I went with what the guy who's helping me out with this, what he said he used. He says I just always use my 30-30. So I got
well, it makes sense. I mean, the one thing I'm thinking about here is, you know, even a 30-06 or, you know, folks have, you know, quicker cartridges than that, but you're kind of aiming it up in the air, so it sketches me out a little bit, you know, with the high powered, you know, 300 Win Mag, and you got it pointed up in the air, whereas like a 30-30 is a little more, you know, a little more arc to that bullet.
Yeah, and you're not shooting that far either, right? Like you're shooting up a tree.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So anyways,
I mean, if you give me an excuse to buy another rifle, I'm gonna go buy another rifle, right? Any kind of gun, actually, for that matter. I mean, I'll try to get as many as I can. Yeah. I like guns. Yeah.
You can't have too many.
No, 45-70, that's cool. The next one, eh? Yeah.
I've never shot one myself, but it seems like a good option. I mean, like you said, huckleberry picking, you know, hunts where, you know, even as kids get older, where, you know, you're not really going to be the one shooting or pulling the trigger, but maybe you want to have a 45-70 on you just for protection or whatever. Stuff like that.
Definitely, yeah. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Plus, I mean, I just want to have a lever action.
Oh yeah, you got to have one.
Try shooting them.
You got to have one in the lineup.
Yeah.
I think that one there, what's it? Marlin has it. Like if you go on their site there, they have it like which gun's compatible for what game you're pursuing, and then there's one lever action there. It's got like all the big game, and then has a T-Rex on it. So I think you should get that one, Kelly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Deal. Hey, I got a bone to pick with lever actions too, because when I was in my Corps, you know, we've said this before, but I was like 29 before I ever shot a rifle, period, like any kind of rifle other than like a BB gun. Okay. So, you know, I'm going in this course, and you have to do all the different kinds of guns, right? You show them this is how you use them, this is how you unload them, this is how you load them, this is how you make sure they're safe, your act improve and all that.
Yep.
So I'm in there, and I'm working with the lever action. This was like the practice round.
Oh yeah.
I ended up jamming the lever action hard, and like it took him 20 minutes to fix it. He's like, in my 20 years of teaching this class, I've never seen anyone jam this thing.
What do you mean? What did you do? Jam the cartridge in the or
yeah, the cartridge got jammed in somehow. I can't remember exactly how, and you know, if I knew, I probably could have told him, but so ever since then I've kind of had a bone to pick with them. I wouldn't mind owning one myself and just you know, practicing with it. But
yeah, no kidding. Well, they are fun to shoot, man. We had this exactly. My dad had like this 22 lever action Winchester, and it was just a riot to shoot. I mean, me and Mike used to get together. He had his 22 and I had mine. We just go through cases of shells.
Nice.
Oh yeah, good times. Like them. Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they still make lever action 22s. Somebody must, eh?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, they must. Yeah.
That'll be next on the list. See, now we got 2 guns to buy.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, the more the merrier.
And they're both lever actions.
So the second hunt wasn't but still always learning something. Like at least the dog didn't take off on me in the second one, so I was like, oh, that's a win. Perfect.
Yeah.
You know, and then awesome. Figured out, and then that bobcat got a hold of a grouse and just mangled it. So I found that on the way, and like there was feathers and guts and blood everywhere. So I was like, well, I know he's I know he's in here. So I just, like you said with the whitetail thing, if I just keep at her, eventually I'm going to turn this thing up.
Yeah.
You know, I got to get in there after it's fresh snow, and I feel like if I get in there, might get a chance at it. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll happen, man. Like, got to put in your time. It's just cool to see the dogs working, I think.
Oh, for sure. Yeah,
stoked to come and visit.
That's the best part.
Definitely. Awesome, man. Well, we covered, we were out for a couple hunts each here, and I think you're planning to go out for some more cougar and cat hunts. And, most folks are probably done their ungulate seasons by now. So, hopefully folks can follow along with us, and, that'll get us through till February, March, and then we'll be right back to spring bear again. And we got some ideas for that coming up in 2021. A few different ideas. So yeah, man, it'll be fun. And I'm hoping sooner than later I can come out there and watch these dogs work with you.
Yeah, that'd be great if you can make it out here. I mean, the whole COVID thing, but I get it. Definitely. But if you could, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Definitely. We'll figure it out one way or the other.
Sounds good.
Cool, man. Cheers.
All right, Kelly. Cheers.
Well, there it is. Episode 128 in the bag. Hope you guys enjoyed that one. If you want to reach out and ask any of us questions, you can find us on Instagram, or you can send us an email. Our email address is info@therookiehunter.com. All right, guys, we'll see you in a couple of days. Happy holidays. Stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll see you on the 23rd. Cheers.